Welcome to Wicked Shizuku's Reviews, bringing you a southern perspective on books, movies, music, and much, much more. Stick around for a while, you just might hear something wicked. Hello again, friends, and thanks for joining me again. This is going to be episode 28 of Wicked Shizuku's Reviews Reads. So we'll be continuing on with a Wednesday read, and if anyone who hasn't ever joined, or it's been a while since you've caught the Wednesday playlist, you'll remember that it's the Bible Promise book, the Aeneid of Virgil, Songs of the Doomed, and British literature for this particular episode. So, I'll go ahead and get on into it. Starting with the Bible Promise book. Wonder what the topic's going to be about this time. Woohoo! Contentment. A merry heart doeth good, like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Proverbs 17:22. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Hebrews 13, verse 5. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. Proverbs 15, verse 15. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. Proverbs 14, verse 30. But godliness with contentment is great gain. 1 Timothy 6, verse 6. Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all day long. For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Proverbs 23, verses 17 and 18. Next topic is correction, God. So I suppose that would mean that it means God's correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth. Proverbs 3:12. Behold, happy is the man whom God correcteth. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty, for he maketh sore, and bindeth up, he woundeth, and his hands make whole. Job 5, verses 17 and 18. Blessed is the man whom thou chastenest, O Lord, and teachest him out of thy law, that thou mayest give him rest from the days of adversity until the pit be digged for the wicked. Psalm 94, verses 12 and 13. But when we are judged, we are chastened of the Lord, that we should not be condemned with the world. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 32. For which we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. 2 Corinthians 4, verses 16 and 17. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Hebrews 12, verses 6 and 7. For they verily, for a few days, chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Hebrews 12, verses 10 and 11. Food for thought. Right. So that was the two topics for tonight. Let's see. Next is the Aeneid. So let's go ahead and jump into that, and I will take a break after reading part of the Aeneid. We're going to pick up in the middle of book 4 in this one. Okay. Out of the corner of her eye she watched him during the first of this, and her gaze was turning now here, now there, and then in bitterness silence. She looked him up and down, then blazed out at him. You treacherous liar, no goddess was your mother, nor Dardandus, the founder of your tribe, son of the stony mountain crags, begotten on cruel rocks, with a tigress for a wet nurse. Why fool myself? Why make pretense? What is there to save myself for now? When I was weeping, did he so much as sigh? Did he turn his eyes ever so little toward me? Did he break at all, or weep, or give his lover a word of pity? What first? What next? Neither Jupiter nor Juno looks at these things with any sense of fairness. Faith has no haven anywhere in the world. He was an outcast on my shore, a beggar. I took him in, and like a fool I gave him part of my kingdom. His fleet was lost, I found it. His comrades dying, I brought them back to life. I am maddened, burning. Now Apollo, the prophesying god, the oracles of Lycia, and Jove's herald sent from heaven, come flying through the air with fearful orders. Find business for the gods, the kind of trouble that keeps them from their sleep. I do not hold you. I do not argue either. Go and follow Italy on the wind, and seek the kingdom across the water. But if any gods who care for decency have any power, they will land you on the rocks. I hope for vengeance. I hope to hear you calling the name of Dido over and over in vain. Oh, I will follow in blackest fire. When cold death has taken spirit from body, I will be there to haunt you, a shade all over the world. I will have vengeance and hear about it. The news will be my comfort in the deep world below. She broke it off, leaving the words unfinished, even light. It was unendurable. Sick at heart, she turned and left him, stammering, afraid, attempting to make some kind of answer. And her servants support her to her room. That bower of marble, a marriage chamber once, here they attend her, help her lie down. And good Aeneas, longing to ease her grief with comfort, to say something to turn her pain and hurt away, sighs often, his heart being moved by this great love most deeply. And still the gods give orders. He obeys them. He goes back to the fleet. And then the Trojans bend really to their work, launching the vessels. All down the shore, the tarred keel swims in the water. The green wood comes from the forest. The poles are locked for oars with the leaves still on them. All are eager for flight. All over the city you see them streaming, bustling about their business, a black line moving the way ants do when they remember winter, and raid a hill of grain to haul it and store it at home across the plain. The column moving in thin black line through grass, part of them shoving great seeds on little shoulders, and part bossing the job, rebuking laggards, and all the pathway hot with the stream of work. And Dido saw them, with who knows what emotion. There she stood on the high citadel, and saw below her the whole beach boiling, and the water littered with one ship after another, and men yelling, excited over their work, and there was nothing for her to do but sob or choke with anguish. There is nothing to which the hearts of men and women cannot be driven by love, break into tears, try prayers again, humble the pride, leaving nothing untried, and die in vain. Anna, you see them coming from everywhere. They push and bustle all up and down the shore. The sails are swelling, the happy sailors garlanding the vessels. If I could hope for grief like this, my sister, I shall be able to bear it. But one service do for me first, dear Anna, out of pity. You were the only one that traitor trusted, confided in. You know the way to reach him, the proper time and place. Give him this message. Our arrogant enemy, tell him I never swore with the Greeks at Oleus to abolish the Trojan race. I never sent a fleet to Pergamus. I never desecrated the ashes or the spirit of Anchius. Why does he then refuse to listen to me? What is the hurry? Let him give his lover the one last favor. Only wait a little. Only a little while for better weather and easy flight. He has betrayed the marriage. I do not ask for that again. I do not ask to give up Latium and his kingdom. Mere time is all I am asking. A breathing space, a brief reprieve, until my luck has taught me to reconcile defeat and sorrow. This is all I ask for, sister. Pity and help me. If he grants me this, I will pay it 10 times over after my death. And Anna, most unhappy, over and over told her tears, her pleading, no tears, no pleading, move him no man can yield, when a god stops his ears. As northern winds sweep over alpine mountains in their fury, fighting each other to uproot an oak tree, whose ancient strength endures against their roaring, and the trunk shudders, and the leaves come down, strewing the ground. But the old tree clings to the mountain, its roots as deep toward hell as its crest toward heaven, and still holds on even so. Aeneas, shaken by storm blasts of appeal, by voices calling from every side, is tossed and torn and steady. His will stays motionless, and tears are vain. Then Dido prays for death. At last the fates are terrible. Her luck is out. She is tired. Water is sprinkled from Avernus fountain, or said to be, and herbs are sought by moonlight, mown with bronze sickles. And the stem ends running with a black milk and the call of a colt. Newborn Dido, with a holy meal and holy hands, stands at the altar with one sandal loosened and robes unfastened, calls the gods to witness Praise to the stars that know her doom, invoking beyond them any powers, if there are any, who care for lovers in unequal bondage. Night and tired creatures over all the world were seeking slumber. The woods and the wild waters were quiet, and the silent stars were wheeling their course half over. Every field was still, the beasts of the field, the brightly colored birds, dwellers in lake and pool, in thorn and thicket, slept through the tranquil night, their sorrows over, their troubles soothed. But no such blessed darkness closes the eyes of Dido, no repose comes to her anxious heart. Her pangs redouble, her love swells up, surging, a great tide rising, of wrath and doubt and passion. What do I do? What now? Go back to my Numidian suitors? Be scorned by those I scorn? Pursue the Trojans, obey their orders? They were grateful to me once, I remember, but who would let them take me? Suppose I went. They hate me now. They were always deceivers. Is Laomedon forgotten, whose blood runs through their veins? What then attend them? Alone be their companion, the loud-mouthed sailors, or with my own armada follow after, wear out my sea-worn Tyrians once more with vengeance and adventure? Better die. Die you deserve to end the hurt with the sword. It is your fault, Anna. You were sorry for me, won over by my tears. You put this load of evil on me. It was not permitted, it seems, for me to live apart from wedlock. A blameless life, an animal does better. I vowed Scythius. I have been faithless. So, through the night, she tossed in restless torment. Meanwhile, Aeneas, on the lofty stern, all things prepared, sure of his going, slumbers as Mercury comes down once more to warn him. Familiar blonde young god, O son of Venus, is this the time for sleep? The wind blows fair, and danger rises all around you. Dido, certain to die, however, is uncertain, plots treachery, harbors evil, seize the moment while it can still be seized, and hurry, hurry. The sea will swarm with ships, the fiery torches blaze, and the shore rankle with fire by morning. Shove off, be gone. A shifty, fickle object is woman always. He vanished into the night, and frightened by that sudden apparition, Aeneas started from sleep, and urged his comrades, "Hurry, men, hurry! Get to the sails and benches, get to the ships under way, and God from heaven again has come to speed over our flight, to sever the mooring ropes. O Holy One, we follow. Whoever you are, we are happy in obeying. Be with us, be propitious, and let the stars be bright in heaven." He drew his sword, the blade flashed shining at the hawser, and all the men were seized with the same restlessness and rushing. They have left the shore, and they have hidden the sea water with the hulls of the ships. The white foam flies, the oars dip down in dark blue water, and Aurora came from Tithonus' saffron couch to freshen the world with rising light. And from her watchtower the queen saw day grow whiter, and the fleet go on moving over the sea, keep pace together to even spread of the sail. She knew the harbors were empty of sailors now. She struck her breast 3 times, 4 times. She tore her golden hair, crying, "God help me! Will he go, this stranger treating our kingdom as a joke? Bring arms, and hurry. Follow from all the city. Haul the ships off the ways. Some of you others get fire as fast as you can. Give out the weapons. Pull oars. What am I saying, or where am I? I must be going mad. Unhappy Dido. Is it only now for your wickedness strikes home? The time it would have was when you gave him power. Well, here it is. Now look at it now. The honor, the faith of the hero who, they tell me, carries with him his household gods, who bore on his shoulders his aged father. Could I not have seized him, torn him to pieces, scattered him over the waves? What was the matter? Could I not have murdered his comrades in Iolus, and severed the son for a dainty at the table of his father? But fight would have a doubtful fortune. It might have. What then? I was going to die. Whom did I fear? I should have set his camp on fire, filled everything with flame, choked off the father, the son, the accursed race, and myself with them. Great sun, surveyor of the works of earth, Juno, to whom my sorrows are committed, Hecate, whom the crossroads of cities wail by night. Avenging furies, hear me, grant me divine protection, take my prayer. If he must come to harbor, then he must. If Jove obtains it, however vile he is, false and unspeakable, if Jove ordains. The goal is fixed, so be it. Take my prayer. Let him be driven by arms and war and exile. Let him be taken from his son, Iülus. Let him beg for aid. Let him see his people dying. Unworthy deaths let him accept. Surrender on unfair terms. Let him never enjoy the kingdom, the hoped-for light. Let him fall and die untimely. Let him lie unburied on the sand. Oh, hear me. Hear the last prayer poured out with my last blood. And you, O Tyrians, hate, and hate forever, the Trojan stock. Offer my dust this homage. No love, no peace between these nations ever. Rise from my bones, O great unknown avenger. Hunt them with fire and sword, the Dardan settlers. Now, then, here, there, wherever strength is given. Shore against shore, wave against wave, and war after war, for all the generations. She spoke and turned her purpose to accomplish the quickest end to the life she hated. Briefly she spoke to the Barces, Sychaeus' nurse. Her own was dust and ashes in her native country. Dear nurse, bring me my sister. Tell her to hurry. Tell her to sprinkle her body with river water, to bring the sacrificial beast and offerings, and both of you cover your temples with holy fillets. I have a vow to keep. I have made beginnings of rites to Stygian Jove, to end my sorrows, to burn the litter of that last Trojan leader. Barce, with an old woman's fuss and bustle, went hurrying out of sight, but Dido, trembling, wild with her project, the bloodshot eyeballs rolling, pale at death to come, and the hectic color burning in quivering cheeks, broke into the court, mounted the pyre in madness, drew the sword, the Trojan gift bestowed for no such purpose, and she saw the Trojan garments in the bed she knew so well, and paused a little, weeping, and thinking, and flung herself down on it, uttering her last words. Spoils that were sweet, while gods and fate permitted. Receive my spirit, set me free from suffering. I have lived. I have run the course that fortune gave me, and now my shade, a great one, will be going below the earth. I have built a noble city. I have seen my walls. I have avenged a husband, punished a hostile brother. I have been happy. I might have been too happy. Only the Trojans made their landing. She broke off, pressed her face to the couch, and cried. So we shall die unavenged. But let us die, so. I am glad to meet the darkness. Let his eyes behold this fire across the sea, an omen of my death going with him. As she spoke, her handmaid saw her, fallen on the sword, the foam of blood on the blade and the blood on the hands. A scream rings through the house. Rumor goes reeling, rioting through the shaken town. The palace is loud with lamentation, women sobbing, wailing, and howling. And the vaults of heaven echo the outcry, as if Tyre or Carthage had fallen to invaders. And the fury of the fire came rolling over homes and temples. Anna, half lifeless, heard in panic terror, came rushing through them all, beating her bosom, clawing her face. Was it for this, my sister, to trick me so? The funeral pyre, the altars, prepared this for me? I have indeed a grievous being forsaken. You would not let your sister companion you in death. You might have called me to the same fate. We might have both been taken. One sword, 1 hour. I was the one who built it. This pyre with my own hands. It was my voice that called our fathers gods. For what? To fail you. When you were lying here, you have killed me, sister. Not only yourself. You have killed us all. The people, the town. Let me wash the wounds with water. Let my lips catch that fluttering breath that still lingers. She climbed the lofty steps and held her sister, a dying woman, close. She used her robe to try to stop the bleeding, and Dido tried in vain to raise her heavy eyes, fell back, and her wound made a gurgling, hissing sound. 3 times she tried to lift herself, 3 times fell back. Her rolling eyes went searching heaven, and the light hurt when she found it, and she moaned. At last, all-powerful Juno, taking pity, sent Iris from Olympus in compassion for the long-racking agony to free her from the limbs writhing and the struggle of spirit. She had not earned this death. She had only sought it before her time, driven by sudden madness. Therefore, the queen of Hades had not taken the golden lock, consigning to her Orcus. So Iris, dewy on saffron wings, descending, trailing 1,000 colors through the brightness, comes down to the sky, poises above her, saying, This lock I take as bidden, and from the body release the soul, and cuts the lock, and cold takes over, and the winds receive the spirit. And I shall be right back after this short break. And welcome back. I hope you were able to go get your drinks real quick. We will be continuing with The Naughty Huntress Thompson in just a moment. And if you remember, it's Songs of the Doomed. This is what it looks like. This is the third volume of the Gonzo papers. So, if you were wondering which edition this was, that's the edition this is. It's the 10th anniversary edition. Okay. And we left off in the 50s. Last Rumble in Fat City. Tarred and feathered at the Jersey Shore. When I got out of the Air Force, I got a job in Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania, which for some queer reason, as an innocent child, I believed was on the Jersey Shore somewhere. It turned out to be 400 miles into the mountains and down the road from Penn State. It was an abandoned coal town. The paper was just one of those stupid dailies with big white margins around it. Tiny top, no pictures. I had to join the goddamn Elks Club in order to get a drink there on the weekends. I was the sports editor. I had an apartment way out. Big gray place, naked bulbs. It was a nightmare, really. I was tolerated, but it was clear that I was weird. It was given, and I didn't like the publisher, who also acted as the editor. He was an asshole, cheap bastard. I was a good editor. I did wire copy, wrote headliners, and laid out the paper. I was more concerned with the layout than the writing. I was a layout freak for a long time. That's how I got into taking pictures. I got so dissatisfied with the photographs I was getting, this was in the Air Force, that I began to take them myself. I began to see photographs, not for what they portrayed, but for how they fit on the page. You know, if I needed a long, thin, dark photograph to balance a 4 column, like a banner photo of a football game, of people running, a panoramic thing, I would get what I wanted. One long shot of a guy catching a pass in the end zone. I may have had this in one section in my mind even before the game was played. And for that picture, I needed a picture of a guy reaching very high and just one person. So I ended up having to take the pictures myself, just so they would fit into my idea of how the sports section should look. I did that in Pennsylvania too. It was an afternoon paper, so I had to be there at 7 in the morning. I was finished by 2, and then what did I have to do? Hang out in the Elk Club, shoot pool. Afternoons were a hard time in Jersey Shore. There was one guy I got along with. He was an academic kind of an unemployable poet who might lecture once or twice at the local community college. He worked on the paper writing features. He became my only human contact. He was the best person to talk to in town. He had a nice farm outside of town, and he had a daughter who worked in Chicago for the Encyclopedia Britannica. Very pretty, dark-haired girl who had just gotten out of either Northwestern or the University of Chicago. He wanted me to meet her because nobody else in this barren town was between the ages of 15 and 50. It was clearly a match of the ages. It was mandatory for him to do this. He thought it was the best thing he had done for both me and his daughter. She was barely off the train when I went to have dinner at the ranch. She was a very pretty girl, and on the second night, it may have been the first night, in any case, he and I switched cars for some reason. It was raining. Actually, that's why we switched cars, because his car was better in the mud, I guess. On the roads, in the rain, I was driving a 49 Chevy myself, which was a little bit shaky. He had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't either. I ended up in the car with his daughter, driving around in a horrible monsoon. Well, I hadn't seen a human being in about 5 weeks. Didn't have anybody to talk to. I was very pleased, like some guy who'd been given a great present, until I drove that car into the river. Actually, I didn't drive it in, but I got myself stuck on the riverbank and somehow tried to turn around, and the front end slid into the water. It was about 2:30 in the morning, and I had to wake up the farmer in the driving. Horrible torrential rains. I had to walk about 3 miles to the nearest house and beat the hell out of it. Get some old Dutch farmer set up. He was really angry, and I don't know how the hell I managed to get him to do it. He didn't know me. He didn't know what I was doing in this weird bog down by the river. This early in the morning, he had to put on his rain clothes, get his tractor, and come down there and pull the car out. I was behind the wheel as he hooked onto the back and started to pull the car back up towards the road. The bastard was in a rage, and he was pulling it out as quick as he could. You know how you open the door and look back, you have your one hand on the wheel and you're looking as you're backing up. The door caught on a log and ripped the door off the side of the car. It was hanging on by one hinge, so we got it back up on the road, but it wasn't quite on the road. So he went around to the front, hooked on to the bumper, and tore the bumper off, but it too was still hanging. So here's the car, a mangled wreck full of mud, and the front end full of water, but it still runs. I took her and it back to this guy's house, and got my own car and went back to this grubby, soot-filled apartment that they'd gotten for me. I went to work the next day. I had to get there very early, like 7 o'clock, to do all the overnight wire stuff for the afternoon paper. At about 7:30, I was sitting casually going through the wire copy, the previous day's basketball scores, putting the sports page together for the day, and I heard this horrible noise outside in the street from far off. I began to hear this grinding as metal was rending and grinding on concrete. It sounded like someone driving a railroad car down the street, set over on its side, like some kind of G9 cat was pulling a piece of junk along the main street of town. Everybody heard the noise. People got up and said, "What the hell is that?" So I got up to look out just in time to see the feature rider whose car I'd driven into the river the night before drive into sight with his bumper grinding and sending up sparks, with his door torn off and dragging. He was bringing his car in to show the people what I had done. He could have tied it up. I guess made less noise, but he wanted to present the spectacle to the editor and publisher and make me pay for it. It was such a horrible sight, and so was he. The parking lot for the paper was behind the building, so he had to turn and pass the front of the building, go around the side, park and back, and come in the back door. I could see his face as he drove past. He was beet red, and I knew heavy trouble was coming. So while all the rest of them were around to the back door to see what in the hell had happened to his car, what was wrong with it, I just got up, took my coat off the rack, and went out the front door. Didn't even collect my pay. Went straight to the apartment, loaded the car, and drove to New York like a bastard. I'd never been there, never even seen it. I remember being stunned at the New York skyline as I drove over this big freeway, coming across the flats of Syracuse. All of a sudden, it was looming up in front of me, and I almost lost control of the car. I thought it was a vision. Woody Creek, March 1990. And the next time we visit Hunter S. Thompson, it will be the article of Saturday Night at the Riviera. So look forward to that one. And we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. And if you made it this far in the episode, congratulations. We are in our home stretch. So, I might have already done this one before. Not sure. I will have to go back and rewatch some of my own episodes in editing. But I think I'm going to do The Wife's Lament. Um, and I will read the prologue to it from Norton Anthology, English Literature, 10th edition, the Middle Ages section. This is what it looks like for reference for anyone. In modern English translation, the speaker of this poem sounds much like the speaker in The Wanderer, lamenting his exile, isolation, and the loss of his lord. But in Old English, the grammatical gender of the pronouns reveals that this speaker is a woman. The man she refers to as my lord must therefore be her husband. The story behind the lament remains obscured. All that can be made out for certain is that the speaker was married to a nobleman of another country, that her husband has left her, possibly forced into exile as a result of a feud, that his kinsmen are hostile to her, and that she is now living alone in a wilderness. Although the circumstances are shadowy, it is reasonable to conjecture that the wife may have been a peace weaver, a woman married off to make peace between warring tribes, like Hildebert and Freyberg, who were politically inspired marriages, only result in further bloodshed. See Beowulf, page 64 and 85. The obscurity of the Old English text has led to diametrically opposed interpretations of the husband's feeling toward his wife. One interpretation holds that for unexplained reasons, possibly because of his kinsman's hostility to her, he has turned against her. The other, which is adopted in this translation, is that in her mind at least they shared the suffering of his exile and their separation. Thus, in the line here rendered, I must suffer the feud of my much beloved. For feud is read by some as the technical term for a blood feud, the way it is used in Beowulf when Hrothgar says he settled a great feud started by Beowulf's father with fee, that is, monetary compensation. Others take the word in a more general sense as referring to the man's enmity toward his wife. In either case, the woman's themes and language resemble those of male rekas, outcasts or exiles. The Old English root survives in modern wretched, and rack. In the Old English poems called elegies because of their elegiac content and mood. This translation is by Alfred David, is based on 8 Old English Poems, 3rd edition, edited by John C. Pope and revised by R.D. Folk, 2000. The Wife's Lament. Full of sorrow, I make this song about me, my own fate. Surely I can tell what suffering I endured since I came of age. Both the new and old, never more than now, I must endure without end the misery of exile. First my lord departed from his people over tossing waves. I worried when day came in what land my liege lord could be. Then I set out, a friendless exile, to seek a place for my sore need. My husband's kin had hatched a plot, conspiring secretly to separate us, so that we, widest apart in the world's realms, lived in most misery, and I languished. My lord commanded me to keep house here, in this dwelling place. I had few dear ones, devoted friends, therefore I feel downcast. Then I learned my lord was like myself, down on his luck, dreary spirited, secretly minding, murder in his heart. a happy pair we had promised each other, that death alone would ever divide us, and nothing else. All that is changed, our nearness once is now as though it never had been. Now far or near, I must bear the malice of the man I loved. I was told to live in a grove of trees under an oak and an earthen cave. That earth hall is old, yearning overcomes me. These dales are dark, and the dunes high, bitter bulwarks overthrown with briars, a joyless place. Here my lord's departure afflicts me cruelly. Friends here on earth, lovers lying together, lounge in bed, while at daybreak I abandon this earthen pit under the oak to sit alone the summer long day. There I may bewail my many woes, suffering of exile, for I can never obtain comfort for all my cares, nor all the longing this life brought me. If any one should feel anguish, harsh pain at heart, she should put on a happy appearance while enduring endless sorrows. Should she possess all the world's bliss, or be banished far away from her homeland, I believe my lord sits by a stony, storm-beaten cliff, that water-tossed. My weary friend sits in a desolate home. He must suffer much in his mind, remembering too often a happier place. Woe unto him who languishing waits for a loved one. And that's our bit of British literature for our Wednesday reads. I hope you enjoyed Wicked Shizuku's reads, episode 28, Wednesday playlist. And if you liked, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't miss another video. Yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this. So get to sleep. Love you guys. Night night.